All right, so block ciphers are fantastic, and AES is, I think, responsible for the most of the internet's or the modern days encryption. I think 99% of the time when you use an encryption algorithm, it is AES. Even now, we are performing a Zoom communication, and it is using AES with a secret key of 256 bits. Okay, but of course, it has some problems to be solved. One problem is key management. Keys must be exchanged between the communicating parties before they can use the block cipher. To communicate with M people, one has to securely exchange N keys, which becomes impossible at some point if N increases. So some of the solutions we use for this use public key encryption algorithms instead of block ciphers, but they're slower than block ciphers when you consider the performance or bandwidth, because in a block cipher or any symmetric key encryption algorithm, plain text and the ciphertext are generally have the same size, right? But in the public key, the ciphertext sometimes increases in size. So this also causes bandwidth issues. But also you can use key exchange algorithms from public key cryptography, like Diffie-Hellman key exchange. And this way you can agree on a secret key and use it. So you can solve the key management problem with the help of public key encryption, public key cryptography, sorry. But before that, I mean, before the discovery of public key cryptography, you have to exchange your keys in a secure way. So in embassies, for instance, when a new person goes there, in a suitcase, he brings all of the secret keys there, and then they start to use it. A second problem is the key storage. And actually, there's not a easy or good way to do it, because since there's a secret thing, which is the key, you have to store these keys in a secure way someplace, right? If you put it into your hard drive, then any Trojan or any virus might capture it. Or even if you keep it encrypted in your hard drive, so this is actually how they do it in cryptocurrency. So they ask you to choose a password. So with that password, you actually encrypt your private key. So if you forget the password, then you also lose the key. But the thing is that once you, for instance, do a crypto money exchange, you have to write your password to obtain your secret key so that you put it in the RAM. Then if there's a Trojan there, then it also leaks again, okay? So you can use some USB dongles or that kind of stuff for storing your secret keys, but it is a problem. And some people, for some reason, choose to store it on the cloud, which doesn't sound like a good idea. And generally it leaks, so, but it is your life. So if you want to do it, just do it. Third problem is message length hiding. Plain text and corresponding ciphertext lengths are identical. If the adversary knows the context of the communication, then they can guess the plain text just by looking at the ciphertext length, okay? So let me give you an example. Some websites encrypt the forms filled by the users, but the remaining parts send unencrypted. An example from a medical form can be like this. For instance, there is a question, let's say, did you ever have a surgery? If yes, provide details. So if the user answers the question and the result is encrypted, and if the resulting ciphertext is very short, like a 1 block, then the person listening to the communication will understand that you answered as no. Because if it were yes, you will write some explanations, so the ciphertext will be longer, okay? So you have to come up with an idea to hide the message length. We did a work years ago. We suggested that to put add random bits to the plain text before encryption, which we call pre-encryption, to hide the message length. So you put the padding in a special form. The person who decrypts it then removes that part. But of course, this solution causes more data to be transmitted because you are increasing the size of your plain text. So if you're interested, there's a 10-year-old paper we published on this area. But I think in the future, we will come up with, we will see more and better results in this area, because currently not many people are interested in this, but in the future we might see that it might be a good idea to have some solution to this problem. So third problem I want to mention is key generation. So we always said that we have secret keys, but somebody has to generate that secret key, right? To obtain a k-bit security, the k-bit key should be generated randomly. But in practice, we see that this is not the case most of the time. For instance, in GSM communication, for instance, if the secret key is 128 bits, for some reason, some GSM operators use for the first 64 bits as zeros, then use the second 64 bit as random. So this allows you to perform exhaustive search, since 64-bit key is not that long, right? Similarly, whenever you do a cryptocurrency exchange, you have to generate a random number at that part, as you use as a nonce. But if you do not generate it randomly, so the computer or your smartphone generates it in the background for you. So if the random number generator is not secure, then you can actually break it. So actually, you can look at the Bitcoin or Ethereum blockchain and try if people generated their random numbers in a random way. So if you know the pattern, or if you assume that initial to some parts are zeros, then you can capture their secret key and withdraw all of their cryptocurrencies, which I'm not recommending you to do, of course. So the solutions for this, you can use cryptographically secure random number generators. So there are good random number generators around, but sometimes you can even have a device which uses physical phenomena as the input and generate random numbers. We will talk about them in the week of randomness. But you can also use password-based key derivation algorithms. So you choose a password, and you put it into a hash function, and the hash function runs it like 10,000 times, and the resulting, for instance, 256 bits can be used as your AES key. So whenever you want to perform encryption and decryption, you again write the same password and rediscover the key. That is the idea. Of course, if you forget the password, then everything is lost. This goes back to the problem of key storage or password storage, right? So the fifth problem is about the design. So I told you that we design a round and then repeat it many times, but the question is how many rounds a cipher should have, right? For instance, DES had a 16 round and we broke it. If it were 32 rounds, nobody would be able to break it, most probably. In terms of differential cryptography, I mean, not the key length. The thing is that we don't have a direct answer. Actually, we don't have a mathematical solution to this, because I told you that confusion and diffusion are not measurable stuff. But what we do in practice is that the common belief is that increasing the number of rounds increases the security. However, it would decrease performance. But if the cipher has a very special weakness, sometimes you break the cipher regardless of the number of rounds. Even if it is a 1 million round, if there's such a weakness, then you break it anyway. A common practice is as follows. Designers apply every known cryptanalysis techniques, and if they can break n rounds, then they choose the number of rounds r as r is greater than equal to 2n to stay on the safe side, because attacks always get better. Some people will come up with a better idea. So you broke n rounds, somebody will break n plus 1 round, n plus 2 rounds, and so on. This is why most of the time R is chosen like that. So I will finish with giving 2 exercises, not homeworks, but if you understand or understand the solutions of these 2 exercises, then it will be easier for you to understand differential cryptanalysis and finding collision for hash functions. So first exercise is about differential cryptanalysis. Question is as follows. You are given a dice, and you are allowed to roll it to see the result as many times as you want. You are asked to determine if the dice you have is a fair dice or is it a biased dice, which rolls 6 with probability 1/3. So for a fair dice, the probability should be 1/6. But for a biased dice, assume that it is 1/3. So I'm giving you a 1 dice, but I'm not saying you if it is the biased one or the fair one. So I'm asking you to find it. So what will you do? Think about it for a week, and next week we will discuss. And second exercise is about birthday paradox. So if you are interested, you can even calculate it. How many people we need to have in a room so that we have 2 people with the same birthday with probability greater than 1/2? Okay. You can just Google it and find the solution. but thinking about it first is better idea to learn it.